What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been out for a couple of weeks now, but today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the all-new iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now at this year's event, Apple introduced a whole new color for their iPhone Pro and iPhone Pro Max series, which is a deep purple color. Now typically, I like to experiment and get the new phone in the new color. However, this year's purple color just isn't my color. Now I did check it out at the Apple Store, and I gotta admit it does look pretty nice. However, it's just not a color that I want for my phone. Instead, as you can see from the box or the boxes in front of me, I ended up picking up the all-new space black iPhone 14 Pro Max, and then my wife picked up the gold color for her iPhone 14 Pro Max. So stay tuned as we unbox and talk a little bit more about these phones. Hey guys, I just wanted to interrupt and give everyone a quick update before I got back to the rest of the video, because this is something that we experienced after we already unboxed, reviewed, and recorded the initial video. So we've had our iPhone 14 Pro Max phones for a few weeks now, and a couple of days ago we ran into an issue with one of the phones where the phone seemed like it ran out of battery and just turned off. Now we ended up trying to charge it using both a MagSafe charger and the lightning cable, but it just wouldn't turn back on. So apparently this is a known issue that many people are experiencing, according to the Apple person we talked to who helped us fix the issue at the Apple Store. Anyways, the fix that worked for us was to hard reset the phone by simply pressing a series of buttons in order on the phone itself. Now in order to hard reset your phone and get it working again, all you have to do is press the volume up button, press the volume down button, and then press and hold the power button until your phone turns back on. So as you can see, it fixes the issue. Now hopefully this may also help fix any other issues that you encounter or experience. Anyways, thought we should share that with you, and back to the video. Okay, so iPhone 14 Pro Max. It's essentially the same phone from last year, the iPhone 13, with a few updates. Now to be completely honest, mostly things that you can do without. So if you're not ready to upgrade, I'd probably wait till the next version comes out, if I'm being completely transparent. That being said, what are the main differences from this year's model to last year's model? Now from a design and looks perspective, I'd have to say that this year's model of iPhone looks exactly the same as last year's. The biggest changes to this year's phone are 1. Minor improvements to the internal components, which includes the camera, 2. The display, and then 3. The notch, which Apple is now calling the dynamic island, which I guess makes sense because of how it works and how it looks. So from a packaging perspective, it's still the same minimalistic packaging that Apple has come to be known for, along with using recyclable materials, as well as the whole unboxing experience. So let's go ahead and unbox my black iPhone, since my wife has pretty much already unboxed hers and is already using it. So again, you just turn it on its back, remove these tabs, and let's see what this comes with and what it looks like. Okay, so I have never gotten the jet black, but this is supposed to be a little bit different than the previous versions, and I do like the grayish black look of it. I've always wanted to get a jet black version of the iPhone, but never really had the chance because there were always other colors that I wanted to get instead. But now that I'm not a big fan of the deep purple color, this gave me the opportunity to get this new jet black color, which I think is pretty nice. So again, you typically just remove the front cover and your iPhone is ready to use. Alright, so in addition to the phone itself, you do get your USB-C to lightning cable. You also get instructions and your standard Apple sticker, which, you know, is just quickly becoming a collection for me. I wish they did have a black version of that to match the color of the phone, because typically with the PCs and everything they do have different colors for those stickers, so a nice jet black version of the sticker would be nice. So I'm not going to use this because I've already got many cables that I already use, and then that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and put this to the side. So as you can see, this phone has a pretty nice jet black and matte black color to it, which is something that I've been wanting, and it looks pretty nice, I gotta say. So power on, typically So powering the phone on, you just press and hold the power button. It powers on as usual, and then setup is typically the same. Setup is your standard setup, so English, United States. I typically always set up my phone as new, so I'm just going to quickly go through this setup process. I'm going to set up my phone. Okay, use Face ID with mask since that's a standard nowadays. Set up my passcode. Now what I like about Apple is the simplicity of transferring all your data and information from your previous phone to your new phone, because all you'd have to do is bring your old phone close to your new phone and it'll automatically start syncing and collecting that data and transferring everything over to the new phone. So let's go ahead and continue here. Then we're going to need to scan this little image. And then it'll start transferring all the information over. So simple as that. Okay, we'll just transfer everything over there. Okay, so while everything is transferring and my new phone is getting set up, there were only a few minor updates to the new iPhone 14 Pro Max that I had mentioned previously. Again, those are some minor updates to the internal hardware, including the camera, the display, and then the new feature which Apple is calling the dynamic island. Internally, this phone is now upgraded to the all-new A16 Bionic chip, which from a performance standpoint isn't that much of a leap. At least not much that's noticeable. Now that doesn't mean that the phone isn't powerful, because it actually is, and it can effortlessly handle anything that at least I can use for it. Other internal components that either got added or installed include a new gyroscope, as well as a better accelerometer, which allows for this new crash detection feature, which is great to have, especially if you have loved ones, to notify and signal for help in case of a car accident or a car crash, which is a feature that I hope someone never has to test out. And then there's this one hardware change to the phone that Apple made that I can't say I necessarily agree with or even like. Come to think of it, I actually don't like it, which is the removal of the SIM card tray, making this an eSIM phone only. So apparently you'll still be able to add multiple SIMs to this phone, it's just that now it's just in the form of multiple eSIMs rather than an eSIM and then a physical SIM. But for me, I always thought it was always nice to have the eSIM as well as the additional SIM tray, especially when traveling abroad or overseas, where you can just simply buy a local SIM and then slide it into the tray itself. What's different now is when I travel internationally, it's going to take an extra step or just be a little bit more complex to switch to a local SIM or number. But I guess it does take this phone a step further to being completely waterproof. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below, if you agree or you disagree, or what your thoughts are about Apple removing the SIM tray. This also brings me to the last internal update, which is the addition of satellite connectivity, which I think is great. This feature is especially useful for people who like to hike or go on adventures, or are just in areas where cell signal just sucks. Now this is probably something that I'll never have a use for, knock on wood, but it's nice to know that it is available in case of emergencies if you need it to send a message or call for help when there's no cellular signal. Now when it came to this feature, it definitely was not an easy feature to test out, especially because I live in a dense city and you need line of sight in order for your phone to detect and connect to the satellite. Now what this satellite connectivity feature is supposed to let you do is connect to any satellite overhead to broadcast a message to emergency services when there's no wireless signal. Now from an external perspective, this phone is completely identical to the previous iPhone 13, with the exception that, of course, there is no SIM tray as I mentioned previously, and there's a slightly more protruding camera bump, which means if you've got those phone cases that level out the back of your phone, those cases might be just a little bit thicker. You'll notice that your phone is elevated a little bit more off the table. Now from a display perspective, the iPhone 14 Pro Max definitely did get a slight update to 2000 nits, making it brighter and more clear, which makes it definitely a lot easier to see when it's sunny out. It's also still got the OLED display, but it's slightly larger at 6.7 inches. Now what I also like about this new iPhone 14 is that Apple finally has adopted the always-on display, which is something that I've been looking for on these iPhones since they were first mentioned. That and the fact that there's the ability to add a lot more information on the lock screen itself. Now to activate the lock screen and the always-on display, all you have to do is press the power button and it takes you to the lock screen, which it fades out to the clock itself and whatever widgets or notifications you have on the screen itself, which is very nice. But really though, the only thing that I care about on the lock screen when it's dim is the clock itself, because it's something that I actually use when I wake up, which saves me the trouble of having to activate the screen to see what time it is. So that definitely is a nice feature to have now. Now when it comes to the all-new Dynamic Island, I think that this was a clever update or even a workaround until Apple can actually find a way to get rid of the camera hole punch or have an under-display camera itself. You know, I gotta admit, whoever at Apple thought of using that notch as an extension for notifications is a genius, and hopefully got a raise. I actually really like the idea of the Dynamic Island because I find those pop-up notification boxes very annoying, and then that's something that I'm frequently swiping away. So it's definitely a nice feature to have that's tied into something that already exists on the screen and makes the notifications a lot less invasive. Now what's nice about the Dynamic Island, the pill or whatever you want to call it, is that it adjusts and grows and shrinks in size based on whatever notification or app you're using in the background. So that's something that's pretty nice, that uses up the top portion of the screen so it looks a little bit more software based than hardware based. And it's also something that I'm excited to see as it continues to grow and developers start developing things for that Dynamic Island feature. Anyways, moving on to the updates to the camera. This year we got a significant update on the camera itself with a new 48 megapixel sensor with the f1.7 lens. And that means you've got better clarity, higher quality images, and wider angles. In fact, I swear the iPhone can pretty much almost replace any DSLR. And that's why I rarely carry any of my larger cameras on trips anymore. In fact, the all-new sensor and hardware also allows for a new 2x zoom in between the 1.5 and existing 3x zoom that already existed. And then on top of that, from a video perspective, it offers an improved stabilization feature when filming video. Now going back to the hardware, one disappointment that I do have with this phone, and it's a complaint that I've constantly had, is that it still uses the lightning cable, which means that large file sizes from the video footage that you take will take forever to transfer off of the phone itself. This is an issue that I run into frequently when I travel and capture footage using my iPhone. Now hopefully one day Apple will listen to our feedback and move to a USB-C connector for their iPhones. But then again, that slow transfer speed using the lightning cable is why I think Apple has also not enabled 8K video recording. So what do I think about the new iPhone 14, and do I think you should upgrade? Well, at $1,100 to start for the base model, I'm not sure I'd recommend anyone upgrade unless they absolutely want to have the latest phone like myself. I don't think the price necessarily justifies the need to replace a phone for those of you that have the iPhone 13 Pro Max or even the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now if you've got an older model, then maybe it's a different story because the new features will be above and beyond what you already have. But I'd say if you're switching from the iPhone 13 to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, there weren't really any huge leaps and jumps in features and technology. But I really do like the Dynamic Island, so kudos to whoever at Apple came up with that clever workaround for the pinhole notch. Anyways, as usual, I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Hopefully next year's iPhone will have some amazing new technology and features. But until the next video, thanks for taking the time to check out this video and supporting the channel. Until next time, see ya.